I don't have Mephisto, therefore he shouldn't be strong. But as soon as I unlock him, they should make him stronger. That's my take.
I like that take. I want that as well. Valley Club, Mephisto got a major buff last week and a nerf yesterday. How big are these changes affecting most players? The spotlight raids, they are live. They've just been improved. But is the new raid a better experience or a worse experience than the previous Greek raids? And old man Logan's event is finally done. Was he worth the chase? And how much of a difference maker is he in the game right now? We're discussing all of these things and more in this edition of your Marvel Strike Force Weekly News Update. This week, I am joined by my brother MobileGamer, and if you're ready for all of these things and more, then MobileGamer, let them know what to do.
Let's go smash it!
Oh yeah, welcome back to the ValleyFlyin channel. I am ValleyFlyin, this is MobileGamer, and this is your Marvel Strike Force Weekly News Update. We do this every single week, keeping you up to date on everything that has happened and is upcoming in Marvel Strike Force. And if you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button for more great Marvel Strike Force content. We put out at least 5 Marvel Strike Force videos per week. Normally, there's a lot more, but yeah, news videos like this, question and answer videos, everything I've experienced in Marvel Strike Force. But how has your experience been this week in Marvel Strike Force Mobile?
Chaotic. Do they know what they're doing over there?
Sometimes it's changes all at the same time this week, right?
Yeah.
All right, let's get to the first one. It is about this guy, Mephisto. He got updated. He got a buff last week. And then he got a little bit of a nerf, but is it really a nerf? Well, last week he got an update, so he's more powerful on defense, and that did happen. One of his updates was to allow Mephisto to empower even when he's exhausted. While we wanted to increase Mephisto's power and defense, we're seeing Mephisto's teams get more defensive wins than intended. Our goal with Mephisto is to have him be the most powerful character in the game as a reward for investment and the challenge of Dark Mage 7, but not make him impossible to defeat. We're updating Mephisto's passive ability so that if he has 2 or more exhausted, he won't gain speed bonus nor empower. We're aiming to have this update go live this past Sunday. I don't really see Mephisto in war, and if I do, I just ignore it. Luckily, I haven't seen him in Cosmic Crucible yet, which was my big fear. Right. You probably have more experience with Mephisto in war and Cosmic Crucible. What has your experience been with the original update, and does this change make a big enough difference to really have that bad feel effect to make him that defensive wall that he is in war?
Okay, before we talk about this, we have to talk about the changes to Mephisto. Do you have the buffs?
Yes, we do. He got buffed. All right, he got a lot of buff, a lot of stat upgrades, health, armor, focus, and then changes to his special, his ultimate.
So we have to start here because this is bonkers. He is so much more stronger. I mean, he went from being the best character in the game to being the best character in the game. Like, holy moly, right? And so let's talk about it. I feel like there's 3 types of players that this is about. There's people that have Mephisto, people that don't have Mephisto, but also never encounter Mephisto. So that's you, right?
I've encountered him in Old Man Logan trials, but yeah, in War Crucible, not yet.
Right, we're talking about.
There's one in our arena shards that I'm not even gonna challenge.
Yeah, we're in the same arena shard. So there's 3 game modes that we're gonna talk about specifically: Arena, Crucible, and War, right?
Yes.
So and we can talk about what these changes did in each one of those 3 game modes and from my point of view is someone that plays against Mephistos all the time in all 3 game modes, right? So where do you want to start with that conversation?
Right, well, let's just start Arena. I think the changes are fine in Arena. Super Skrull, I was not able to beat Super Skrull at all in Arena until I got my own Super Skrull. That part's fine. Any objections to what they did with Arena, the changes in Arena? Okay,
so the Mephisto changes actually changed nothing for you and I because we go up against the same Mephisto. Prior to these updates that we're looking on the screen, scroll down a little bit. These were like
unbeatable, and now he's still unbeatable.
He was unbeatable before, and he still is undefeatable. So
Arena,
but he is even more unbeatable than before. So there's no change. Cosmic Crucible. Okay, so Cosmic Crucible.
That was my big fear, Mobile. Cosmic Crucible.
Okay, so the thing is that the room bonuses and the season bonuses give significant bonuses when Cabal is used with Masters of Evil. So the team comp is Cabal, Kang, and Titania. is typically able to one tap most Mephisto compositions in Cosmic Crucible. I've seen many screenshots.
Okay.
Before and after.
That's good because that was my big fear, Cosmic Crucible.
Yeah, before and after the changes. Now, so there's the way he was before, there are these changes, and then they added the nerfs, and the nerfs now make it that he will be significantly easier on the third attack. The first two attacks are still going to be insanely hard. The third attack will be easier, is the way that it works now. Want to talk about war?
Sure, yeah. For me, we're in a casual war alliance. We need to get our 10 attacks. We're not really caring if we win or lose, just as long as we get our attacks. We do want to get our ranks, but you're a hardcore war alliance. Yeah. How has this affected you guys at the top ends of war?
Okay, so here's the thing, and this is something that is going to be controversial. There was too much offense in war. So if we go back and we're playing like 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks ago, it was literally two alliances being able to destroy each other easily, full clear versus full clear. And if your alliance or somebody in your alliance game crashed, you lost the war.
Okay. That's not how it is now, though.
No. And so they've gone out of their way to change that. The problem is that they implemented almost 3 changes at the same time, and they didn't do it incrementally, and they just said, boom, here's all these changes. 1, massive boost to Mephisto. 2, removal of the 20% offense buff for war-ready allies, and 3 was the introduction of Alpha Flight as a war defense team. So they're trying to make the game slower when it comes to war, have less full clears, have more defensive wins. Now, I know that is not a popular change. I've read the Reddit posts. A lot of people are not happy about the 20%. But what happened is that they made Mephisto invincible, and Mephistos were getting 8, 9, 10, 12, 15 defensive wins. You could not beat him.
And is it still like that with the new changes, or
so the change
has these went live yet since the war?
No. So the nerf that you're talking about, nerf you're talking about is not going into place until Sunday. So like the very bottom.
Silly question. Yeah.
It's going into Sunday. So right now, if you're playing up against Mephistos in war, unless there's like a secret counter we don't know, it is nearly impossible to get through it, and you're just stuck. Now, what this is going to change to, and the way that it's going to be, is that he's going to be almost I don't know. The community is smart when they always find ways of doing things, right? We just don't know. Currently, right now, it's not easy to beat, and it's multiple attacks, multiple stacks of exhaustion. With these changes, their intent, or the way that they want it to be, is that he's nearly impossible to beat on the first 2 attacks, and then you might be able to beat him on the 3rd attack.
Now, what the devs did say, like big teams on the 3rd attack, like Mercs for money, like strong teams able to beat
Not Mercs for money. No, you're never going to use Mercs for money against Mephisto because but it's going to be like Nowhere Apocalypse.
Okay, I must have read the Envoy chat wrong. I remembered it wrong.
Well, the reason why Mercs for Money never works is because Mephisto's passive says no revives ever, and Mercs for Money is completely designed around revives.
Yeah, the Panda Pool and Man Logan.
It's like Mephisto's like a hard counter to that team.
All right. Well, I guess the community will figure out what is the best counter for Mephisto. The high level alliances that are playing the Mephistos, they'll figure it out, and then they'll pass that information on to community.
The real headline here is that the changes, the post before this, are insane, and the buffs to Mephisto are insane, and they didn't think them through. And when they implemented all of these changes to war together, it created a problem. You remember when Heroes for Hire came out, and they were just like invincible, right?
That. Yeah, there was no Weapon X, there was no dark, there was nothing to counter them.
So the changes to Mephisto, that the nerf, if you will, it's just like it was almost like the game was unplayable. Like
on paper, it looked great to me.
Yeah. So this allows for a triple tap as opposed to potentially unbeatable, or multiple defensive wins. I mean, nothing is unbeatable in this game, and in general, the community will figure out a way to get through it. But here's the main thing is that Mephisto owners are probably happy with the massive buffs, and maybe they still think this is fair. I'm going to guess that there's some Mephisto owners that feel that Mephisto should even be stronger in Crucible and the one taps that are happening in Crucible. I'm guessing. I don't know. For me, as someone that plays against Mephisto a lot, and I do not have Mephisto, I think the changes are insane. He was already the best character in the game, and they made him even way more insane. And they just didn't think it through, and they had to implement this last change on the screen here just to make the game like playable. You know what I mean? It's just like, wow, we hit your Mephisto wall, and maybe we'll throw 10 teams at it. Can you imagine? Like I have 10 attacks, and all of my attacks going just to Mephisto, and that's the way it is. That's not fun.
Remember Heroes for Hire? Yeah, that is not fun at all. I do remember that because the game was like that at one point.
And then the players that don't ever experience Mephisto are like, what do I care? By the time I get Mephisto, they're going to have sold us 19 counters. And if you want to hear my cynical opinion on all of this,
yes,
is that they are making Mephisto a ultimate lock and really, really hard to be. Why? So they can sell you a solution to the problem that they created.
Professor X.
Well, whatever it is, it could be just what if it's the random 5-piece vampire quarantine has something that says get Mephisto, you win. Who knows, right? What if they just put that in the passive? They have a way of doing that, right? They introduce a problem, and then they introduce over time soft counters like Dormammu and Black Cat. Black Cat's kind of like a counter to Dormammu. They do that a lot, right? Back in the day, it was all Black Bolt was to Ultron and so on. They just, it's the way the game works. And so I feel what they did is they made Mephisto a lot harder to beat, so that the solutions that they're going to sell us over the next year are going to be more attractive. And what if they make an arena solution, and they make a Cosmic Crucible solution, and they have a war solution, and the solutions are game mode specific? I'm telling you.
I think they will be game mode specific. I think the only solution in Arena, though, will be Mephisto, just based on what they did with Skrull, Apocalypse, and some of these other characters before I got them.
I mean, this nerf is helpful, I guess, but the problem is they made him so strong. He's the best character of the game, and my opinion on it is I don't have Mephisto, therefore he shouldn't be strong, but as soon as I unlock him, they should make him stronger. That's my take.
I like that take. I want that as well. Super weak until I get him, then make him super strong. Yeah, that's the way to go. Let's do it. All right, and let's smash these spotlight raids when they come back. Got a little bit of a change and better. So first thing that we got these spotlight raids in the game. Let's talk, before we talk about the change, how do you like these spotlight raids? Not able to complete it. Do you think it was launch on time? Should they have waited? We're getting better rewards now. What do you think of this overall?
Yeah, introducing a new raid where the team hasn't even come to the game yet just makes no sense to me at all.
I see why they did it, though. They wanted to get the rewards in our hands earlier and obviously sell the team. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good, but I see why they did it.
I don't know why they did it. I mean, if they wanted to launch it on I don't know what the order is. It's going to be Northstar, Sasquatch, Guardian. But if they would have launched this system on the day that all 5 of them, the 3 remaining are available, then that would make sense to me. I don't understand it at all, what they're doing. I have no idea.
Well, at least they knew that the rewards that they were planning weren't aligning with what they wanted. It wasn't more rewards, it was less rewards. So they extended the season rewards, made alliances whole, and they also improved some T4s that we got from these raids as well. One of the big things with this was originally when they announced this, they said it was strike teams of 4 instead of 3. We've had strike teams of 3 for all these raids for years and years and years. This would have been the first for 4. They reduced that to 3. And that caused a problem just because of the amount of nodes that we could do. There was only 3 lanes. Now there's going to be 4 lanes once this comes back in the game. What do you think of the new lanes, launching it like that and reducing it from 4 strike teams to 3?
I feel like whoever designed this initially doesn't play the game. Whoever made the changes doesn't play the game, and finally they got it right on the final thing. I just like I feel like none of these problems needed to happen at all. Like, we've always had 3 strike teams, so why do 4? Okay, well we'll make it 3. Well, you still need to have nodes, and especially if there's not enough nodes because we can't play it because Alpha Flight is not in the game yet. None of this makes any sense at all. None. Like I feel like
testers. We're the play testers. They tried, didn't work. They're like, all right, let's figure out a solution. I'm glad that they got the solution early though.
I mean,
it took them I'm sure. I'm sure it's good now.
I'm sure the person that designed it and implemented these changes plays the game, but they don't play the game in maybe they just log in for 20 minutes a day or something. I don't feel like they play it competitively and care about rewards and how it's going to impact and doing the best. And the way that most people that play this game do play the game, they play it pretty intensely. I feel like maybe some of the people in charge are very, very casual, and they just, it feels like there's a big disconnect between, the way that you and I play the game and whoever implemented all of these nonsense that we've had with this. This is completely unnecessary.
All right, so there is a little bit of downside. Obviously, these more rewards, front loading this is better with these T4s. One of the issues with this, obviously it's a good thing reducing the strike teams, but by increasing a lane, instead of now 3 members needing Alpha Flight to complete this raid or beat it 100%, now you need 4. And
correct.
While a lot of alliances that won't make a difference, some alliances free to play, it will. The timing of it, I guess it depends when your alliance wants to push. If they want to push as soon as Alpha Flight is a game, that may be problematic, forcing people to spend. Do you think that's going to be a widespread problem over the entire MSF community, or was that just limited to some people in chat that I was talking about?
So, in theory, let's say we're an alliance where half the people are going to get Alpha Flight and half the people aren't, right? Let's just say that's a hypothetical, right? Okay. Well, that's the way it's set up now. With these changes that are coming, where there's going to be 4 nodes and 3 strike teams, right? It's basically 2 people per lane. One of them is going to have to buy Alpha Flight, right? Or upgrade Alpha Flight. Now, the way the half-baked version where they said only 3 lanes and 3 teams when it was originally designed for 4 teams and 3 lanes, it was always designed for 12. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
12, 3 times 4 is 12 and 4 times 3 is 12, right? You understand what I'm saying? That 3 strike teams with 4 lanes is 12, right? And originally it was 4 strike teams with 3 lanes. What they tried doing was basically 3 strike teams,
2 members per lane.
Well, they were trying to do three people in 3 lanes, right? Which means that you could have 3 people in each node instead of 2 people. So only 1 in 3 people had buy Alpha Flight. Obviously, somebody over there said, well, that just means, a lot less people are going to have to buy Alpha Flight, and that's not good. So we're going to change this. But that their intent was that if you want to get to the end of this, half of your alliance is going to have Alpha Flight up and running, or it's not going to happen. That's the way it is.
All right, so conspiracy theory time. Do you think this change was made so that now half the alliance has to buy Alpha Flight instead of a third, or was it to give us more nodes for like events and things like that? Why do you think they made this change?
The original design was for half the people in the alliance would have to buy Alpha Flight. Someone didn't think about it, and then somebody else got mad at there. You need to fix this because less people are going to have to buy Alpha Flight. So
I mean, if only they released it to the envoys like a day before, we could have said, we need another lane. We need more lanes, and told them that beforehand. That would have solved it. It wouldn't have to do this.
It's not the envoys' responsibility to build the game. It's their responsibility to build the game.
My point is exactly when we saw this, we said, no, we need another lane. And they didn't do anything for a week. So that was my point with that. But yeah, it is not our responsibility to do that. But when we tell them things, give them our feedback, they should take it instead of waiting for about a week. And maybe this was as soon as they could have taken it, in fairness to them.
Right.
And let's move on to Alpha Flight. Obviously, they're going to be good in the raids. They're going to be needed for the spotlight raids. Not going to be used at all in the incursion raids, though. Great on ward defense. What are your thoughts on their value off of the team, though? Sasquatch on his own, Guardian on his own, Northstar on his own. Northstar does have a little bit of uniqueness in his ultimate, is why I say that clear revive once off of all enemies on his ultimate. that may give you some value in Cosmic Crucible, may give you some value in Dark Dimension. What do you think? What do you think of these new Alpha Flight members? Good value, or just in their specific game modes and their specific team?
Okay, in general, new characters are better than old characters. Will they have a place in other game modes? It's always possible that, you know, the stats are superior. I mean, I think what you're asking is, oh, should we take them into Dark Dimension 7 or something like that? We'll see.
Let's say it's Northstar specifically, because
Northstar seems the best. Yeah, out of the three, Northstar seems the best. And I'm guessing that there will be a case use for one of these three. I mean, it's kind of like Spider Society, right? You know, they're useful outside of their primary game mode, and individually they're okay, right? I don't think any of these are going to be arena characters or anything like that. It doesn't feel like they're overwhelmingly impressive. There's no Black Knight on this team or anything like that.
No, I think I think the only one I'm seeing is Northstar for maybe a hybrid team, just because of this revive once and having this very early on, clearing like Dormammu teams or searching rooms with the revive once, maybe giving value there. But that's all I see. If there's anything else you guys are seeing, let me know in the comments. But let's talk about the event that just ended, the big event that everybody was pushing for. And there was some positives, there was some negatives. In some ways, it was better than the older legendaries. I'm talking Omega Red and previous. In some ways, it was worse. What were your thoughts on this event?
So none of this event makes any sense to me at all. Boy, where do we start with this?
Did you get Old Man Logan? What was your Old Man Logan rank?
Yeah, so before I start talking about, there's people that had 5s, 6s, and 7s on the requisite teams, right?
Yes.
Does that make sense? So like we're talking about Out of Time and Cabal. So when I say I had 5s and I got a 6, that was my experience, right?
Oh,
so I had
same experience for us.
So my experience is that I had 5s and I got a 6-star Old Man Logan. So the problem that I think is that they didn't think this through is
right around here. Yeah.
There were people that had 7s, which meant they spent a lot more money than you and I, right?
Yeah.
And they got 6s also.
Yeah, and I'm hearing there was about 200 players or so that had the 7-star Cabal, had the 7-star Out of Time, and got a 6-star Old Man Logan. I think for those select group of people, worse than all these previous legendary events, worse than Old Man Logan. I think for everybody else, though, it's a little better as far as where rewards. Obviously, not as good as the Horseman ones, not as good as the Scourge, the Trials, all that stuff, but better than the old stuff. How do you compare this to the old stuff?
Okay, well,
your experience and overall for the overall community.
It's terrible. So, I mean, let's get this out of the way. The stargating is not a good change for the community in general. I mean, and I'm going to make a case that it wasn't even good for those 200 Krakens, right? Like there's a limited number of 7s because it's a leaderboard. There's going to be exactly 500 7s, and there's going to be another 4,500 6s for a total of 5,000, right? Yeah. That is all that is going to be distributed because of the leaderboard system, right? Yeah. So by the stargating just determines who gets what, right? That's all they did with this garbage stargating system. Whether you had 5s, 6s, or 7s on the requirement teams. Problem with that is that it didn't even really do that. You and I had 5s and we got a 6, and there were about 200 people that had 7s that also got 6. They should be pissed. If their intent is just to give the Krakens a gift and purchase your way into a 7s. Well, that did not happen for 200 people. So the problem with the event, in my opinion, so that's the first issue, right? Let's move past that issue, right?
Let's talk about that issue. If they extended to 1,000 for the 7-star, I think
they don't want that though.
Well, I just say that would have fixed the issue though, right?
Because the whole
people 6s would have got 7s. People would like us would have got 5s, would have got 6s.
No, they see that's not the point though. The point of only giving 500 and 5,000, right, is so that we fight for it and we spend money. And this is a soft auction. Does that make sense? If they just expand the number, then it defeats the point of doing the leaderboards, and then they could just go back to the original star system back in the day. But they want a leaderboard.
In the design, you're right, but effectively, what it would happen, would have been fine.
They could give 100,000 people 7s and 200,000 people 6s, of course, but that's not the intent of the way they do it.
Well, I'm just saying, like, to make it better than like Omega Red and previously. So, like, if you had a 7, you definitely get a 7. Just extended there would have been, but it's bad design. You're right. What is the next? What is the other issue?
So the main problem in the so this problem right here is their business department versus the players, right? And that's a business decision, and it's an opinion whether they think it's good for them. We think it's bad for the community. I think that they should give 100 million gold a day to everyone because that's good for the community. They're going to say that's bad as from a business and a gameplay and playing. So those are the type of debates that really go nowhere, right? Yeah. I think we need more gold. They don't. They think that the Krakens should get the 7 Old Man Logans. I don't. Okay, so that doesn't matter. The problem with the event is the design and that the Scourges were effectively useless for a large percentage of the players. If you had 5s, you everybody was playing on max Scourges. There was no strategy on turn this Scourge on, turn this Scourge off, try to figure out what team. No, there was none of that. It was literally turn on all the Scourges. And so what happened is, if you were, let's say you were a 7 or a 5, you were a 5, right? We were both 5s, right?
Yep.
We had to play this really dumb game mode of trying to be efficient as possible so we could place and tie in the top 5,000. It wasn't about like
for myself, I kind of enjoyed that though. I was outside the top 5,000.
Then why have Scourges? What's the point of Scourges if the only way to play it is max? It wasn't about
the Scourges, but the difficulty. I liked the difficulty. Having to manage my cooldowns, all that stuff. So when I finally got to that Mephisto at the end, I was like, oh, this is hard.
Well,
it was scary. Like, oh man, if I make a mistake here.
But your experience could have been achieved without Scourges. Why put the Scourges at all if they do nothing? Like you had to turn all of them on. The people that did the 7s had to turn all of them on. The people that did the 6s had to turn them all on. The people that did the 5s had to turn all of them on. What was the point?
I see that. Yeah, okay. The Scourges meant nothing. The difficulty I thought was fine and made it fun. But the Scourges, they could have had them all equipped because it didn't make a difference. It was just about the turns.
Yeah, it turned it, and they don't need this. If they just want it to be about efficiency and the number of turns, well, then they don't need Scourges to do that.
Yeah, gotcha. All right, well, we did get the payout. The good thing about the payout, it came very early, but I was not able to find it when I originally looked back on this. It was all the way down here. It's called Pestilence for some reason in the rewards.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know why it was called that, but we got some pretty good rewards. Let me just find it just in case anybody wasn't seeing it. But what do you think the effect of Old Man Logan is now that we got some 6 stars, now that we have some 7 stars in the game right now? Old Man Logan. Old Man Logan
is way stronger than I imagined. He's really strong. Like, holy moly. Yeah. So that's dumb. Old Man Logan is he's not as strong as Mephisto, but it was kind of perceived in the past that Super Skrull, APOC, Black Knight. Oh man, he's way up there, maybe above, situationally better than some of those, right? He's one of the best. He's just top 2, top 3 character in the game. He's just over the top. He's just bonkers good.
How much is he so good? Black Knight for you?
So he was specifically designed to be a counter Black Knight. If you look at his special, it calls out chargeable protectors specifically with 1,000% extra focus, which mirrors the focus that Black Knight gets on defense when he has defense up, right? Or whenever he has defense up. But if you look at the special, it might as well say, get wrecked Black Knight. Scroll down a little bit further. It just calls out chargeable protector right there.
Okay, I'm scrolling. I'm all the way.
Yes.
My goodness, this is a long scroll.
Right. So this attack gains 1,000% extra focus against chargeable protector enemies. That's specifically.
Is there one chargeable protector? Is there one in the game?
Well, I don't know. There's more than one. But it might as well just say wreck Black Knight. You know what I mean? And so this allows Old Man Logan to stun Black Knight. Now I'm using Skirmisher on him, which has made it way more consistent. I was finding with Striker, it wasn't that consistent. But when I switch, yeah, and that's the correct thing. This is a two correct ISOs. Yeah. In his team, he's a striker. Outside of his team, with like characters like Apocalypse, he's probably going to be skirmisher. In a plug and play legendary soup with a lot of good strikers, he needs to be skirmisher because he always assists, and then you get the triple tap. So like in arena, he's skirmisher. In war with his team or in crucible with his team, he's a striker.
Okay. I think I just left it strike. I did both, knowing that you wanted skirmisher on the other team, striker on and I just kind of
this guy is so good. And the problem with this guy is when you get in a mirror, Logan versus Logan, it is not fun. It is not fun. No, you time out. I mean, I
saw a suggestion on Reddit. Maybe when you get Logan versus Logan, you just flip a coin and then the AI decides who wins.
Okay, but if they had any presence of mind to sell us a solution, maybe one of his awakened abilities would have been a solution to that exactly, right? You know what I mean? Some whatever like ultimate. Clear revive, or this attack you can't revive from this attack, or remove revive once, something. They could have put an anti-revive mechanic as an awakened ability on one of those abilities just for the mirror match and say arena offense only or something.
You know what though? I think that thematically in Marvel Strike Force that is accurate, because I believe back in the day when we had Wolverine versus Wolverine matchups, those would just time out as well because neither could kill each other.
Yeah, it's kind of weird though. I think it's poor gameplay design if two characters can't kill each other.
I just think it's kind of funny. All right, little PSA. I don't know if you noticed it. We got a little maintenance, and some people are saying all their advanced settings got reset and all these checked. Most of mine were here, but the autoplay in arena and war got shut off. I've heard other people's getting reset. So make sure you check your settings. I don't know if you had anything that was weird with this. All right, and we talked about this a little bit earlier, the changes to war. Now, this is from last season, added to all rooms, global rules, 20% primary stats to attacking war-ready allies, and then it was based on the Secret Defenders. Now, this season, all that stuff is gone. The new global rules, very, very different, and it's based around defense. 20% primary stats to defending war-ready allies, Hero Spider-Verse allies, excuse me. Not exhausted, they're going to spawn with 2 safeguard, offense up and defense up. On dealing piercing damage, war-ready attacking allies will apply bleed. When attacking enemies with bleed, war-ready attacking allies, Mercs for Money characters performs a second attack. So just pretty much buffing the Mercs for Money allies. No blanket global rules for attacking allies, and on turn war-ready defending Alpha Flight characters with exactly 1 exhaust gain regen, and if 5 Alpha Flight characters are present, gain 20% primary stats. So lost a lot of the buffs to the attackers. What does this mean for war, and what the wars you guys have played so far, Mobile?
All right, so just to clarify, War Ready is Green ISO 4. That's all War Ready means. And this 20% stat buff to Green ISO 4 has been a thing for a minute now. And it was removed. It was removed because the wars were too offense. I talked about at the beginning of the video, Alliance 1, Alliance 2, full clear versus full clear. But my computer crashes or the game crashes and freezes and we lose just because of crashes. And so they wanted to change the war meta from more defensive holds than full clear versus full clear. Most people don't experience that, and I feel like they were taken off guard. It was jarring to have not only a war defensive team out of the game, which is Alpha Flight, drastic changes to Mephisto, right? Yeah. These new global rules which drastically change Hero Spider-Verse allies. There's a lot of Hero Spider-Verse allies. There's 2 particular teams that are problematic now with these changes. But I think what nobody expected was how jarring that 20% stat bus removal. I'm surprised they didn't ease us into it, maybe doing 15 or 10 or 5, taper down, but a 20% reduction changes everything. The landscape of war is entirely different. And I saw multiple posts on Reddit of people not thrilled about that at all.
Yeah, I didn't realize that happened. I would just glance at these Alliance War rules,
right,
and then move on. it wasn't until before we started recording, like, oh no, there's no more stuff for Alliance. Now, what do you think is more debilitating for removing the Alliance? The buffs to Mephisto, or these new global rules that take away a lot of the buffs for attackers and give the buffs to already hero Spider-Verse allies instead?
Well, here's the thing. Mephisto's a non-event for most people. How many are in the game? 200 to 400? I mean,
good point.
It's a non-event, right? You know, so that affects me. In the alliances I play against with Mephisto, but I think, and I don't have a Mephisto, I'll get him someday, maybe 6 months from now, I don't know. But it's the thing is like, I think for, the other 99% of the player base, losing these 20% attack buffs plus the buffs to the Spider-Verse, because the Spider-Verse buff creates problems with Spider Society, Tangled Web, and more importantly, the infestation. There's a lot of infestation counters out there now that just simply do not work because of Big Time Spider-Man now getting, all this extra safeguard. You're not getting through any of that stuff. Like most of the counters, unless you do, a full team. What I mean by a full team is like something with like Super Scroll or Apocalypse or Nowhere, like a monstrous team. There are these cheese counters to infestation that do not work anymore at all. Will the community come out with solutions to this? Yes. Is there a lot of change happening at once? Yes. Does the community think change is bad 100% of the time? Yes. Doesn't matter what the change is, they're going to hate it. So I don't know if this is good though, because I think that the developers needed to make a change for the tippy top of the spear because everything was offense versus offense. And maybe the only change that they really needed to make was Mephisto. But what they've done is they've changed the way that war works for everyone. And I don't know that that's good at all. Probably bad. And from the Reddit posts and the posts put up by people that are in normal alliances that are not playing against Mephisto, they generally hate these changes.
So how likely do you think it's going to be for the devs to go back and look at this and it's like, you know what, this is not what we intended, kind of like they did with Mephisto, kind of soften the buffs that he got, maybe soften these, maybe give some of the offense buffs. How likely do you think that is going to happen based on some of the feedback that we've seen this week?
So the problem with all of these types of conversations is I don't have the data and I don't know what their targets are. What percentage of alliances do they want to full clear versus full clear? What's an acceptable number? What do they want the overall landscape of alliance war to look like for most alliances? What percentage of your opponent's defense are you supposed to get through? How much did these changes change those numbers? This is data I simply don't have access to. But what I do see is a general consensus from the community that they hate these changes.
Yeah, I had a counter that usually works not work. You mentioned infestation counter, not the traditional counter not working. One of mine's Heroes for Hire, Dark Hunters, did not work. It was a punch down. Shang-Chi was killed. Luke Cage was killed. Had to walk away, put on auto. Somehow I lost. I have no idea what happened there, but yeah, some of the traditional counters aren't working for me. Are there any other traditional counters that you've experienced in this week that haven't worked because of the changes?
I've only played one war, so that's it. The second war is happening right now, so I don't know.
That was jarring for me.
Well, if you look at the video that I put out about that, not that everybody would watch that video, but I went overkill on these teams. I knew Spider Society was going to be challenged, and I did something, like Gamma Apocalypse, right? I don't think I needed to do that. Against Infestation, I did Nowhere. Those are extreme counters for top tier teams. So it wasn't war is largely about, something's on defense. What is the most efficient counter that won't be needed somewhere else, right?
Yeah.
You can use the best teams to beat any team, but that's not the point. We want to use the least best team to beat the defensive team. And I had to use top tier, S tier teams to beat, Spider Society infestations, which were B tier defenses before, or C tier defenses before. And I had to use an S tier, A tier counter. And where that will land, it's been one war. It's been one war, right? I don't know.
All right, we'll see. Hopefully these changes aren't as jarring, and hopefully we adjust to them, and it gets that intent that the devs wanted. It brings the fun back to this game mode. Let's talk about some of the events.
I just want to back up. My criticism of this is why so much? What What would have been so bad about incremental changes looking at the data, implementing one change like Mephisto looking at the data, doing some change looking at the data? I don't know why they needed to do these jarring, drastic changes all at once. And, without knowing, why overshoot the mark and piss everybody off? It doesn't make sense to me.
I mean, what you mentioned is why they do things in science like that, right? They adjust one variable at a time.
One variable at a time.
Instead of adjusting like all these variables and not sure what the effect was caused by. So there's a lot of stuff that changed.
So my criticism is that they had a problem, right? And I'm guessing that the data suggested there was, war was too offensive minded and not enough defense. And so they implemented 3 changes basically at the same time. Introduction of a war defense team, Alpha Flight, stripping away the war attack bonuses of 20%, and then adding all of these bonuses right here, which, War Spider-Verse thing, and then drastically boosting Mephisto. Why couldn't they have done them incrementally? Or one, I don't know why they had to drop all 3 at once. It doesn't feel very well conceived.
It's not very scientific, Scope.
Nope.
Not at all. All right, let's move on to the events. I know you love all these min-maxing all these events. Homeward Bound Mobile Gamer, the month-long event. Docking is the reward. We didn't have a character last month. Do you prefer these kind of month-long milestone events so that you actually get a character shard that you might be able to use? Or do you like just getting resources and not having the stress about, I need the character shards from this location?
Oh, my brain just turned off. Re-ask that again. I'm sorry. I completely blanked out. Someone messaged me something on Discord, and I'm kind of like, I accidentally started thinking about it. I'm sorry. I'm completely zoned out there for a second. Sorry.
A lot in this video, dude.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the events of the week. We got a new month-long milestone event and a new event going on for this week. Now, in this Homeward Bound event, last month in the month-long milestone event, we did not get any character shards for a newer character. We might have gotten some for leader, but not a lot of character shards. This month, Docking has returned. So do you prefer these kind of month-long milestone events where it's more about the gear and grinding and try to get these milestones, not really have to stress about farming character shards? Or do you like to get more shards of a character that's actually pretty good in the game right now, like Docking?
I don't know how to say this. I don't care about events. Like, literally, not at all. No, like, I just don't care about them. Like, I play the game correctly, and I get all the milestones, but we don't ever have enough data on these events, and they change the events, and it's just meaningless to me. I'm gonna get what I get. Thanks for the bonus stuff. I'm certainly not gonna obsess about these events and spend money, so I'm gonna get what I'm gonna get, and that's that.
I'm not going to spend money, but I will try to min-max every single one of these events.
Yeah,
that's kind of how I.
But I'm already min-maxing the game without having to even look at what the event does. Does that make sense? I'm already doing that, so it just doesn't matter. It absolutely does not matter.
Well, this one's a pretty good event, the Sins of the Father event. You have to do some raid battles. You have to spend some recursion energy. Pretty simple if you're managing to accomplish that web milestone. Little bit of an issue with the amount of raid nodes that you could do for that web milestone with the Alpha Flight raids, but I like that they're increasing the nodes, and hopefully it's not too much of an issue. The good thing about it, though, is that you have to play these battles, so you could go in and lose, not necessarily have to win. Mobile Gamer, we have a new character that's getting a rework. Moon Knight won the poll, 68% to 31% for Morbius. Who did you want to get the rework, Morbius or Moon Knight?
Oh, just for the memes, Morbius. But gameplay-wise, Moon Knight is not nearly. I mean, there's still some limited use in War for Morbius in his current form, where Moon Knight is completely useless in all game modes. Plus, I think more people like Moon Knight, but people are not looking at the bigger picture. I mean, if Morbius got reworked, think about how much fun you could say. It's Morbid time. I mean, what are you going to say about Moon Knight? I'm Batman? No, you're not going to do it. You're not going to ever be able to say anything with Moon Knight. So anyways, Moon Knight.
You just have that song in your head that, what is that? I don't know. Sorry. But that song, you just for Moon Knight, all you have is that song in your head from the TV series. At least that's what I got in my head. But yeah, say yelling Morbin time would be so much more fun.
I actually didn't care which one gets it. Moon Knight's better than Morbius, I think, for getting a rework. So I'm glad that happened.
I hope you voted every single day to get your power.
I voted every day for Morbius because I wanted its Morbin time. I wanted to say that, right?
All right. Well, I voted for Moon Knight just because I kind of like the character better. Although Morbius has gotten me a little more value in Marvel Strike Force. Let's move on to this guy, Mephisto. How close are you to unlocking Mephisto, mobile gamer?
Well, you're a little bit further ahead than me. I'm on.
Sort of. We talked about this beforehand. I'm sort of ahead of you, but you're more ahead of me, I think.
Yeah. So I'm on node 2, and then I'm going into city. 3 of my city characters are done. I've got 2 remaining city characters, and they have a total of 4 pieces. So I'm 4 pieces away from going into city, but I'm still working on node 2. So hopefully by the time I get to node 3 where you're at, I will have my city done, and then we'll go through it. Who are you taking in for city?
So what I took in initially was the big 3, Apocalypse, Skrull, and Black Knight. My other 2 were Vulture and this guy. Ghost Rider Robbie Reyes.
Same. Okay.
So what I'm thinking is Vulture, Ghost Rider Robbie Reyes, and then I'm going to do these 3: Noir, Penny, Peter B. Obviously, I'm not putting 0 Crimson gear on these characters until I'm ready to take them in, but this is my thoughts right now. Who are your first 5, and who are you taking into city?
It's exactly.
You said the same.
It's exactly the same. I think I'm not doing Penny. I'm doing Pav. I'm doing Pav instead of Penny. I think it's all the same though.
I think Pav has a lot more damage. Very, very good. Is that based on what their kits are doing for
no,
Penny versus Pav or just stars?
I had the gear on Pav, and I made the decision that I didn't want to conflict. I was going through the planner, and there was some sort of conflict with the gear that I didn't want to deal with. I think it's because I didn't need that Crimson Titanium ally really anywhere else. Other than maybe I had to decide between like Doc Ock or Iron Patriot. It was something to do with that. I made a decision. I just ended up doing Pav.
All right. And that's a good point that you bring up. If you guys are still trying to get into Dark Dimension, planning for whatever Dark Dimension, make sure you go to MarvelStrikeForce.com. Use this planner. It tells you how much gear you need, how far you're away, and then may change some of your decisions on which characters you take in based on the amount of gear that you have. All right, so that is everything that's happened this week, everything that's upcoming next week in Marvel Strike Force. What was your experience this week in Marvel Strike Force? Was it a good one? Was it a bad one? And what are you expecting from next week?
So it's mostly bad. Of course, new war room changes to Crucible. That's always welcome. I think that's fun, right? I've been having fun in Crucible, even though I lost a little bit this week. I went 1 and 2. But the war, the spotlight raids, and the general release of Old Man Logan to me are not good. I feel like this has been one of the worst 2 weeks that the game has had in, like, say, the last 6 months. I feel like the game has gone in a better direction. It felt like there was a leadership change and there were less bugs, less problems. And then the last 2 weeks, a lot of that just seemed to fall apart.
Yeah, I think for me, it's been a little more than 2 weeks that I've seen that I've noticed a change
Maybe
personally.
More,
but I'm still having fun in the game. I still like Crucible. I still like playing. And luckily, not in a war hardcore alliance, and I haven't seen too much Mephistos other than Arena, and I wouldn't beat him anyway. So I'm enjoying the game, but let me know what you guys think. What is your experience this week been in Marvel Strike Force? Hopefully it's a positive one, and all these negative things aren't getting you too down. But if this video did give you some value, leave it a like. It is free, helps the channel, and make sure you check out Mobile Gamer channel as well. And if you want to check out what are the best Dark Promo / Dark Diamond credits characters to upgrade, check out the video up here, and I'll see you guys next time. Are you ready for a fist bump, Mobile?
A fist bump!
Oh yeah, ValleyFlyin Mobile Gamer out. Have a great day, guys.